Hello everyone, this is Foad Alavi and this is the third video that I prepared for you of the series of Authentication, Authorization and Asp.NET Identity. In this video, I'm going to talk about token-based authentication using JSON Web Token or JWT. Let's go to the Visual Studio. As you can see, I have two Web API projects. One of them is Application Out and the other is Application API. The Application Out is responsible just for creating a token and pass it to the client. And then Application API is just getting the token, place it inside its header and send a request to it, and then it will validate the user. There are some questions that we need to answer here first. Is it possible to generate the token on another website and use it in the other website? Yes, it is possible. Do we need to have identity server to do that? No. The difference between ASP.NET Identity and Identity Server, I guess version 4 is the latest version of the Identity Server, is that if you want to have some servers and share a token between them, you just need to share the token configuration between some projects. But if you have several projects in different environments and platforms, for example, you have an application, you have several applications on Windows, several applications on iOS, several applications on web, and you want to have single sign-on for all of them, and synchronizing this config file is really hard for you, it is time to use Identity Server. I'm a developer with 15-16 years of experience. I mostly worked in banking systems. I worked in enterprise companies, and I haven't faced the need for using Identity Server yet. Then if you are going to use it, consider it again and think about it carefully. Let's see what I do have here inside the API application. Inside the API application, inside the app setting.json, I have the connection string. It is obvious because I need to look for the database. And I have JWT configuration here. For JSON Web Token, for generating a token, you need to have a key and issuer and audience. Issuer and audience are optional, but it is better to have them to be sure that who is the issuer of this token and who are the audiences of this token. I have one video and explained everything about JSON Web Token and how to use it. You can check it. I will place the link here. I guess in the right side or left side of the video, you can see it right now. The next thing that we need to consider is the port that we are going to run this application. This application which has the APIs, we want to run it on HTTP, localhost, and on port 5291. We have some controllers, 4 controllers: classroom controller, module controller, student controller, and teacher controller. If I open them, you can see there are nothing special here. All of them, they have 4 different action methods: get, add, update, and delete. And they just return get teacher if it is in teacher controller, add a teacher, update a teacher, and delete a teacher. And for students, get a student, add a student, update a student, and delete a student. The return value is not really important for us. What we are going to check in the next 2 videos are how to authorize them and how to get a result. If they can return a string, they can return some complicated JSON data or some other things as well. If I click on the project itself, you will see that there is no dependencies here. I haven't installed any NuGet packages on this project. The only thing that I need to have is a dependency or a reference to the services project. And for the out, in the app setting.json, we have the connection string because we need to log into the database to check if the user is logged in or not. And we need to have this JSON Web Token configuration. As I told you, if you want to use JSON Web Token and the server that you logged in and the server that you are using this token for authentication are different, you just need to share this configuration file, share this part, this key more specifically. Let's check the launch config, and the launch config, we are using localhost port 5290. Let's check our services. First of all, I want to log in using the username and password that I'm going to send to this auth application. I have one controller here, auth controller, and inside this auth controller, I have a login method, which accepts a post verb on HTTP. I need to generate a token and put it in the response and send it to the client. How can we do that? Let's open it and see it. We are using authentication service and iOption JWT configuration. What is this one? For explaining that, let me go to the program.cs first. Inside the program.cs, I am telling my application, I am telling my ASP.NET Core that I will have one configuration, and this configuration is from the type JWT configuration, and read the configuration from the config file from the section JWT. Let's go there. It is JWT section. It is going and create this configuration and deserialize it and create an object using this model, key, issuer, and audience. The properties that I have here are exactly the same as the properties that I have in the configuration file. And by creating a thing like that, inside the controllers, let me go to the controllers as an example here. When I say iOption JSON configuration, dependency injection is going to create an object for me of type JWT configuration, and because inside the register services part, I told it to read it and deserialize it and save it here, we have access to it and it is going to pass the value for me here. Just be careful that config or what you are returning, what dependency injection returns to you, when you use type iOptions, you need to get the value of that, and the value is the type that you want. What else do we have here? We have add application services. Nice and easy. Let me go inside that. It is what we had previously. It is just registering the identity database and authentication services. If you haven't seen my previous videos, please go and watch both of them, because I explained so many things there, and these series are somehow like a chain. You need to start watching them from the first one until the last one. And after that, if I go to the program.cs again, I am using add application identity. Inside the application identity, I am just telling it that I have one identity database and we have some configuration for password and things like that. I'm not going to explain it again and anymore because I explained it in the previous videos. As you can see, we have no use authentication here, because when you want to log in this project, in this API project, you don't need to be authenticated. You are going to use the login to create the token. When you have the token, you will pass the token to the request and send the token via the request to the other web API that I have, which is this one. And here we need to have use authentication middleware to generate the security context for me. In this project, in the auth project, generating security context is meaningless. Let's see how it works. Let's go back to the auth controller again. We are using auth services.login. It is exactly what we used for cookie-based authentication as well. We are passing the credential to that. If I go here and check it, We are trying to get user based on the username. When we are using user manager.find by ID async and pass the username to that, it is going to search based on username. You can find it by email as well, but here let's just stick to the name. And if it can find a user, it is going to compare with what I have inside my identity database, because I explained it with details in the previous videos. I'm not going to cover it anymore. What else do we have? We are returning OK, and inside that I'm generating an object which has a token, and for the value of token I'm using out services generate token string. Let's go to the generate token string. For the generate token string, we are passing the user, which is a string, which is the username, like admin, like user, like cont, which is the abbreviation of the contributor, and JSON Web Token. First of all, we need to get the claims. I explained how we can get the claims, but because it is important, I'm going to explain it again. First of all, we are going to get the user. After that, we are going to create a list of claims. The first claim that you need to have always is name, and the username should be placed as the value for the claim type name. We are getting all the claims for the user, all the claims that are assigned to the user directly using the user manager.getClaimAsync and add the range, because the return value of this getClaimAsync is a list. Then it is time to get the list of the roles which are assigned to this user. For each of the roles, we are going to add them as a claim for the user with the type role. A user can have different roles, and for each of the roles, we are going to add a claim to the list with type role. And for each role, we are getting the role using role manager find by name async and getting the claims for that specific role and add all the claims to the list. Then when we are adding a claim, when we are adding the claims for a user, we are not only getting the claims which are assigned to the user, we are getting the claims which are assigned to the roles. Let me go to SQL Server and check it. As an example here, if I run it, I will see that I have 4 users: admin, contributor, Foad, my user, and user. And here we have a table for ASP.NET user roles. If I select on it, I will see that there is a user ID and role ID. Users and roles can be assigned together. And I have claims for users, ASP.NET user claims. The claim type, you can see admin claim user with this value, contributor claim underscore user with this value. I explained them in the previous videos. And role claims, as you can see. Then we can assign claims to roles and to users. And when we are going to get the claims for one specific user, we need to get the claims that are assigned to the user and to the roles that user is assigned to. Okay, back to generating token. We have the claims. And after that, we need to create a security key. For creating a security, we usually use a symmetric security key. We need to get the key of the JWT. For the JSON Web Token, we need to have a key. We should convert it to the array of bytes and generate a symmetric security key out of that. After that, we need to sign it. We need to create a signing credential, and we need to pass the secure key to that and tell it what is the hashing algorithm that we want to use. And usually we use HMAC SHA 512 signature. Then it is time to create the security JSON security token, JWT security token. First, we need to pass the claims. It is really important to set an expired date for that. 16 minutes is something that I usually use. It is better to pass issuer and audience. It is optional, but it is better to have them because sometimes you need to validate what is the issuer of the token that you are using. And you need to have this signing credential as well. The reason that we need to have a key for JSON Web Token is that the mechanism of JSON Web Token is that after having everything and creating this security token, when we want to write a token, it is going to somehow hash the data, and using the hash, if something changes inside this token and hash it again, the value of a hash will be different, and it is going to compare it the next time that you send it to the server. If the hash is tempered, if it is changed, if you manipulated the data inside the token, it is going to invalidate the token and not let you to generate the security context out of that. We have this JSON security token handler, and we can write a token based off this security token that we have, and it is the token. I'm returning it to the web API that I have. Let's go to the browser and check it. As an example, I'm going to try it. Let's start with username and password just as a string. As you can see, it is returning bad request. Let's change it to admin123 and execute it again. Now the result is one JSON object. We have a token and we have a value for this token. If I copy this value and go to jwt.io and just paste it here, you will see that this JSON Web Token has three different parts: header, verifying signature, and the payload or data. What is most important for us is payload or data, because header and verifying signature is going to be handled and verified by JWT libraries that we have and we are using. Then we don't care about it. As you can see, the name is admin. We have some other claims. As you can see, these claims are from my database. This is from my database as well. And the role is admin, expire date, issuer, and audience. Good. Let's go back to my API project. I generated a token. Now it is time to create the functionality in the other application that I have, in the API application, to read this token from the header of the request and generate the security context and let the request to pass or maybe reject the request. Inside the program, I need to have this JSON Web Token configuration. Do we need to have it? We will check it. In this extension method, if I go inside that, it is the one that we are registering our DB context and our services. We don't need to have access to the database because JSON Web Token generated the token for us in the other application. In this application, we don't need to go to the database and check the users, but because we are registering our services here, let's use it. After that, application identity. Do we need to have application identity? I guess not. Let's remove this one. After removing it, we will check it. If it throws an error, we will realize that we need it. And then we need to add application JW authentication. If you remember, in the first video, we created exactly the same thing, but it was for cookie authentication. We need to pass the JWT configuration as well to this method. If I check it here, I will see that we are using add authentication, and inside the options we are telling it that the name of the module that we want to do the authentication is JWT Bearer default authentication scheme. As I told you, because of the modularity and dependency injection inside ASP.NET, we can have different modules to do the authentication for us. We need to specify what is our authentication module first inside the authentication. Otherwise, in the other part of the application, we cannot use it. And after that, we are adding JWT bearer. In this method, we are registering some services that we need and passing some options. It is really important to pass the issuer signing key. The JSON Web Token key that we had inside the configuration file should convert it to array of bytes, and then we need to use the symmetry security key to have this key here. You can pass the issuer, you can pass the audience, you can tell it to validate the actor, validate the issuer, validate the audience, and required expiration time. There are so many options that you can have here. Check them, read the documentation, and I have another video about JSON Web Token that I explained many of them there. Fine. Let's go back to the program file, and I don't have any other things. The only thing that we need to add is app.useAuthentication. Using this one, each request when in our ASP.NET pipeline, when we get a request, this request will be processed by middlewares one by one. This use authentication middleware is responsible to find the module which is responsible for handling the authentication, which in our case is JWT bearer. And JWT bearer is going to deserialize the token that we have, check the expiration date, and see if it is valid or not. If it is valid, it is going to generate the security context. Otherwise, it is not going to do anything, and the security context will be empty. Let's just compare what I have here. What is the difference between add application JWT out and add application cookie out? Let me split it. Here we have add application JWT, and here we have add application cookie. We are using add authentication in both methods. We are passing the default authentication scheme name to both of them to know which module is responsible for authenticating. And after that, we need to register the dependencies for the module which is responsible for authentication. In cookie authentication, we are adding cookie. In JWT authentication, we are adding JWT bearer. Nice and easy. Let's see it. Let me run the application for the API and go to the controller and try to get the response out of that. It throws an error. Why? Let's check the console. It is telling me that the service is not registered. The service is not registered. Let's go back to the project. As you can remember, I had something here. I had add application identity, and this application identity, I just removed it. Let's have it back again. Why it is throwing an error? Because inside the add application identity, we are registering some services for user manager here and for role manager here. It is correct that we are not using them, but because here in the add application services and inside the authentication services, we are using them, we need to register them as well. As you can see, there are some flaws in the way that I organize this registering services. In a good design, you shouldn't have these kind of dependencies. If you don't want to use them, you don't need to have them. Let me go back. In this project, I'm not going to use any of them because this add application service, we are just registering the DB context, which I'm not using now, and out service, which I'm not using now. Then let's comment it. In the application identity, I'm registering user manager and server manager that I'm not using now. Let's comment this one as well. And here for configuration, Do I need to have this configuration here and pass it as a dependency injection somewhere? No, because here I'm getting it. I just need to specify and register the services that I need for authentication. Let's run it. And here, if I try to run it, you will see that it returns the result for me. I just wanted to give you an explanation and give you an example about how this modularity works and how you should use these services. The only thing that you need to have is to have the token inside your request. We have authentication registered here. How to test it now? For testing that one, I am going to add an attribute for authorize here just to test if my authentication system works here or not. The way that I'm going to test it in this video is a bit complicated. In the next video, I'm going to explain it. I'm dedicating the next video just to explain to you how to use Thunder Client in VS Code to test your APIs. But let's check it together. It is Thunder Client, and in Thunder Client, I have a collection. This collection and everything that I explained in these series are available inside my GitHub repository. You will see the link in the description. Yeah, you can use it. We have one out API, an out project, which has a login. This is the link. This is the URL for calling it. I'm going to use admin user with this password and sending the request. This is the response that I have. Let's copy this response and go to Classroom and try to get something. The first thing that I want to do is going to the Authentication tab and be sure that the inheritance is disabled. I'm going to explain it completely in the next video and send the request. As you can see here, it says that error 401 or unauthorized request. To solve this issue, we need to place this token that we have inside the header of the request. Go to the Auth tab, inside the bearer, just paste the token. And if you send the request again, you will see that the status is 200 now, and it is returning the value get a classroom. Before wrapping it up, let me explain an important thing that I forgot to mention in the last video. If I go to the service registration and go to the application identity registration, you will see that we have services that add default identity. But we have another thing, services that add identity. And this add identity, if I click on it, it accepts not only the user but also the role, which means that it is going to register the user and role. The reason that I'm not using it is that sometimes when you use this one, it is going to overwrite some of the names for the authentication module, and debugging it would be a bit harder. Then please stick to this add default identity and register the roles afterward. I guess it is all that I prepared for today's session. If you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And do not forget to ask me your questions down below in the comment section and introduce my videos to your friends and colleagues. See you soon with the 2 remaining videos about authentication, authorization, and identity. Keep coding and enjoy your life as a developer.